Now, a federal court has blocked most of Donald Trump's global tariffs, delivering a blow to one of the US president's flagship measures. A three-judge panel of the US Court of International Trade ruled that Trump overstepped his authority when he invoked the 1977 International Emergency Economic Powers Act to declare a national emergency and justify the sweeping tariffs. And those tariffs overturned decades of US trade policy, alienated the country's allies, and rattled markets. And they also raised fears of recession in the United States and elsewhere. And for more on this, we're joined on set by our business editor, Charles Pellegrin. Charles, how did the court reach this decision and what was it based on?
So the main argument, and the only argument that really counted here, is that Trump overstepped his authority. According to the court, the U.S. Constitution gives Congress the exclusive authority to regulate commerce with other countries. And in this case, Trump used executive orders to enact tariffs invoking the IEEPA. So that's the International Emergency Economic Powers Act, and it's meant to address unusual and extraordinary threats in a moment of national emergency. And according to Trump, that threat was trade deficits that, according to him, hurt U.S. workers by offshoring jobs to other places and weakened the U.S. defense industrial base. So he put a bit of a national security bent on that argument. But the court also said that those measures did nothing to resolve that particular problem. So the simple matter of the fact here is just that the authority to regulate international commerce does not stand with the president, it stands with Congress. So any arguments made during these lawsuits that, for example, there was no argument that there was a national emergency because of trade deficits, because there were trade deficits for 49 straight years, whether bad or good years, well, that point is moot. The only point that matters here is the U.S. Constitution and who has the authority to regulate international commerce, and that is Congress.
And what happens now, and what does this mean for businesses?
So the court gave 10 days to the Trump administration to issue new orders reflecting this ruling. And very quickly after that ruling was made public, the Trump administration filed a notice of appeals and questioned the court's authority. So this means that now this course will go down the appeals circuit. The next step is the U.S. Court of Appeals for the Federal Circuit of Washington, D.C., and then it could go all the way down or up to the U.S. Supreme Court. But what this means is that all the orders that Trump signed by invoking the International Emergency Economic Powers Act have now been invalidated with immediate effect unless an appeals court down the road actually decides to reinstate them. What's important to note here is that this does not apply to the sectoral tariffs that were applied, for example, on the imports of steel and aluminium, or auto tariffs, which were slapped using a different legal argument based on an investigation into these particular industries. So what this means for business, well, what we're seeing is in Asia currently, the equities markets are all trading much higher, as you can see there. The Nikkei in Tokyo up 1.77%, the Kospi in Seoul up 1.81%. All these countries are big exporters to the United States, so there's that perspective of not having their trade with the U.S. weighed down by the tariffs, by the reciprocal tariffs that have been implemented by Donald Trump. So that's driving these shares up, even if this is just kicking the can down the road in terms of where those tariffs are going to go. But at least there was the 90-day suspension of Trump's reciprocal tariffs. Who knows how long we'll get more clarity, it'll take to get more clarity on this issue, but it definitely gives the United States trade partners leverage in these negotiations, as they can wait until there's more legal clarity in the U.S. before starting to make concessions.
Thank you very much for that, Charles Pellegrin.